Hello, everybody. This is Morality Matters, and I'm Mike Belton, and I'm have a very, very special today. Kathy Belair. She is joining us today. She's a school teacher. She is somebody who works with invisible chronic injuries, and she's also works as a teen slash woman's minister. How you doing tonight, Kathy?
I'm doing pretty well tonight. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. Thanks for asking. So, we have an important topic that we want to talk about tonight, and this is this whole thing about Gen Z and what's going on out there. And many people think in Gen Z, there is a revival happening.
God has big plans for his life, and tonight is the night he wants to follow Jesus. Yep. Right here.
Watching these kids come out of the water, one after another, with tears, with celebration, with joy, all their friends cheering, everyone on campus watching and cheering. I'm like, man, God gave a cool image, didn't he? When you come out of the water, I want you to take 1 second and pause and remember what that cold water feels like. Coming up out of it, you are new. It is your reality. You are a child of God. You will never go back. And he gave you this image so you would remember something visceral. To feel the water, the cold water, like washing you. In college, when you have made so many mistakes, when you have totally lived for yourself and you want to change, and on that night, you go underwater, buried in death, raised to walk in newness of life, that he would give us that kind of image. It's just so beautiful.
What do you think, like some of the contributing things that are leading to that?
I think I think Charlie Kirk recently has contributed to that. I do think that they're searching for truth.
Hmm.
They're searching for awareness. They're searching for hope. They've seen previous generations fall away from the church. And actually, that was what the millennials did. They went more towards secularism. And now we have Gen Z that is saying, okay, we want to know truth.
And I just remember it took me about 3 days to fully grasp what had happened.
It is special what happened tonight, but let it be the normal thing. It is not a one-time event. It is walking with Jesus day in and day out through a local church, through knowing your Bibles, through prayer, through walking with other believers. Y'all, that is the Christian faith. It isn't magical nights like tonight. And what you do from here will define your lives more than this night. This is the beginning of something, but dare it be the end.
So, like, I kind of beat up this generation a little bit, right? So, like, when I looked at this generation for quite a while, I'm just like, these kids are like damaged. Like they were affected by COVID, so they were locked up for a while. They were like the TikTok generation. You can't get them off their phones. You can't get them to like socialize. They don't go outside and play. And I'm sitting there looking at these things. I'm like, and then all of a sudden you hear like, wait a minute, they're like returning to the church. Like, what's going on?
I've been saying that for the last 4 years, that this is the revival generation. Our old youth pastor, Aaron, and I had a conversation about this, and he said there are teens that are telling their parents, I want to go to church, instead of the other way around.
And if I go back, even prior to this event, any time I had been in a room with college students, unbelievable things begin to happen. I think the baptism thing we never saw coming, ever, you know? I mean, I would love to meet that girl, because that girl, with her text to her pastor, is how the whole thing started. And it was because the baptisms were so massive. I mean, we had thousands of people surrounding that pond and 350 kids baptized because of those images, because of how that went viral, because the news covered it, because it went national.
You say that this generation, and it's a quote here, Tanya, will usher in the greatest move of God that we have ever seen.
There is such a hunger among young people. I think they're really tired of living hopeless and living with anxiety and depression and suicidal ideations. This generation is hungry for a move of God, and because of that, they're going to events like this, and students are getting baptized, And I just believe this is the beginning. We are about to witness a greater awakening, and our nation is going to turn to these young people who are leading us.
So do you think that's because like they have maybe like so much more information at their hands that they're not liking what they see? And so like there's so much garbage out there that maybe that's what's causing them to find truth?
I think it's both. I think it's because of all the information that they have at their fingertips, because they are the first generation that is just internet.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think it's because it's a double-edged sword. So you get the wonderful information and then you get the bad theology, right? So you have to learn. That's what they need to learn is they're getting all this negativity and then they're getting the theology, which is like, okay, this looks good. Where can I get more of this?
We were there till midnight. We go back to the hotel and we eat like at 12:30, and we're just like all on this high. Like, what did God just do? And we're celebrating and laughing and crying.
And we honestly couldn't believe it. Like, we stayed up till 3 a.m., all of us just talking like, can you believe what God is doing? Can you believe what just happened?
I mean, it was like the coolest moment of ministry of my life. And we thought, like, that's it. Like, that was amazing. Like, that's it.
Like, it just somewhat fascinating to me, right? Because like I have younger kids that are at Gen Z thing, and you know, I kind of pushed church on them early on, right? Because I didn't grow up with church myself, right? So they had a little bit of advantage that way. But next thing I know, like they're taking their friends to church, not something that I promoted. They did it on their own. And all of a sudden you see these things, and I'm just like, now how did they go from being like isolationists during COVID to like stuck on their phone and not really like looking up? Like my daughter would literally text me from the next room, right? Instead of coming to see me. And then how do they go from that to like wanting to go to church?
This generation is really interesting because, you know, when I was growing up, they had the popular kids, the unpopular kids. You had like a large group of friends, right?
Right.
This generation, small group of friends. That's what matters, is their core group of friends. So when they find something that they're interested in, they're bringing their friends. And it's only a few. Now, our family ministry director told me today that they have more kids showing up on teen nights than they have in years because they're bringing their friends. So they're bringing that core group of friends. It's 3-4 friends, and they're fine with that.
And so we're seeing this revival that's happened. And so I have a video on that. Let's take a look.
This next story is going to have you thinking Christianity appears to be making a major comeback in America, and young people leading the charge. Studies show the search for community and connection in a post-pandemic world have led Gen Z to religion in growing numbers. But
there is a revival happening in the West, everybody, especially in America. Gen Z men are more likely to attend church, of course, than Gen Z women. Barna Research Group reports that Gen Z teens are more interested in learning about Jesus, with younger cohorts leading the way in the growth of new commitments. Top music out there, Forrest Frank is more popular than Drake. The American Bible Society found an increase in Bible use and engagement. According to the Wall Street Journal, Bible sales have spiked, driven largely by first-time buyers. Finally, Christian entertainment has been seeing a remarkable surge from The Chosen to The King of Kings. Worldwide music streams of Christian music are up 60% the last 5 years.
So it's going to be interesting to me, and I kind of want to get your viewpoints on this. Like, when they go and they're seeking for truth and they find it, and then they're trying to also be pleasing, it's going to be interesting to me how they're able to deconflict the two. What do you think?
When they're seeking God on it, they're getting the truth.
Be baptized in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
We did not plan this at all.
All these pickup trucks pull up and like turn on their headlights.
I'll never forget what I saw. Thousands of students around this body of water.
I remember Jenny walking up to me and locking arms and saying, "Tanya, what in the world is happening?" I said, "Jenny, I don't know. I'm just in awe of God. I'm just in awe of God."
You know, Gen Z has been written off. They're not the generation that's, following the standards.
People hate on college students, Gen Z, so much, saying there's no hope for Gen Z.
Social media is just inherent to our everyday life.
Everyone's only posting their best moments, their prettiest moments.
Honestly, I would just post and post and post and make sure that it looked like everything was okay when deep down it wasn't.
And God's the only way to get out of that cycle. So they want that. And once they get that, they start seeing, okay, I don't need to be people pleasing as much. I can go and I can speak truth and be okay.
Well, I hope it really turns to that. One of the things that I think is really refreshing off of that is this channel's Morality Matters, because it's about morality. And it seemed like for so long America's been getting away from moral things, right? It's all about your happiness and doing whatever you want, which you can do when you're free. But that's not the way of God, right? And it's very, very interesting that this particular generation sees that. I mean, they grew up with that and they're rejecting it. And they're going back and they're saying, no, that's not what I want to be. And I see what happens to all of them. There's I'm choosing a different path. I'm looking for truth. I'm looking for maybe some of those absolute moral value types of things.
And I remember after hearing that story, standing up from the table, pushing my chair in and saying, no more. Our prayers were focused on Gen Z, breaking the chains of anxiety and depression off of this generation.
The two words that I use to describe Gen Z is ambitious and anxious, being driven to do big things, but then never feeling like adequate enough.
You have a lot of young people who are depressed, who are anxious. We're seeing increased suicide rates.
But I've struggled in all the ways they're struggling. I've drank from the broken cisterns that they're drinking from.
We need to come in and not have them have the TikTok theology or the Instagram theology. We need to teach them actual theology. And once they start learning that, they're going to seek the truth. They're going to learn the truth. They're going to know the truth.
Everyone's searching for something. Unfortunately, they're just looking in the wrong places for the right thing.
I think they've had everything the world has to offer and they're done with it.
They're at their wits' end, and this can't just be life as we know it. There's more.
We might even say there's signs of revival among young people.
Right. So one of the things I looked up was this whole revival in the modern context, right? Because when we looked at historical revival, and I don't want to get too boring with history, right? But these old great revivals of old time, I don't think that's what's going on right now. But there is kind of maybe some microcosm of a revival happening within our youth, which is absolutely phenomenal to me. And it's not just in the United States. You see it in the UK, you see it around Europe. This is Gen Z. They're really looking for truth, and they're filled with so much garbage that I'm so glad that they're pushing back. And they're just you know what? That sounds like a bunch of garbage to me. I don't really want to have anything to do with. Maybe that's why they're getting with a more smaller groups of friends where they're hey, we all think relatively the same and we can trust there. But they talked about this. They said this particular revival today is more digitally expressions of faith. It has worship movements driven by music and by social media.
Yes.
Youth-led prayer gatherings, which is good, and cross-denominational type of events.
Yeah.
Isn't that something else?
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing.
Something has been happening on campuses across the nation. You all are a part of a generation that God is sparking revival, and it is spreading.
When you're surrounded by people who are singing the same thing as you, you can't help it. Sense the Holy Spirit gathering everyone together.
There's so many people that don't know their love, that don't know that they can live free of anxiety, free of depression.
God is moving right now.
I think you're absolutely right. And one of the things that are most fascinating to me is this part about youth-led, this youth-led spiritual revival. So it's not Gen X. It's not the pastor behind the pulpit.
It's not normal that like this many students are like, yes, I want to get baptized.
And see them come back out of the water and they're like, I'm made new in Christ. It is beautiful.
I was atheist until 3 years ago when Christ called my name.
In there tonight, I didn't feel alone.
I just want to leave it behind and give it all to Jesus because he freely gives it to me.
It's revival. It's a movement. And I still think it's just getting started.
Span attention is still small, right? But they're like, hey, I want that short, like 15-minute video on like Samson. Tell me about it, right? And they'll watch or they'll listen to that podcast or they'll watch that video on it that's out there.
That's what they want, is to hear it, or just quick 8-second attention span. That's what I was told.
The
Now,
TikTok generation.
yes, when I went to college, I was taught kindergartners have an 8-second attention span, and I'm going, oh, okay. So you know,
now it's teenagers. It's like
I watch them scroll. They're like scroll like. But the one thing we do have to be careful of is what is going into their mind. And that's where I think TikTok, I think Instagram, I think the podcasts can be totally amazing. I have found some amazing ones that I follow myself. However, there's ones out there. I mean, we have preachers out there now that we know, don't go to that church. Don't listen to them. They are false preachers. So we have to warn them to kind of use discernment, and they do have really good discernment.
Okay, so there are a lot of challenges with the claim of this nationwide revival. And even if there is a little bit of revival on, is it fad or is it here to stay?
Right.
Right. And so the challenge of this claim of revival is, I look at, and I was really concerned, like, obviously there's a lot of emotions everybody feels after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, right? And then his wife becoming the CEO of Turning Point USA, right? Because I'm just like, hey, it's great. I understand why everybody rally around her, for Turning Point USA, and I get it. But what does that look like 2, 3, 4, 6 months from now, right? Because is she really going to be the face? Because I don't see her debating it at college campuses.
Me
right?
either.
So like, is that sustainable? And the same question I have, just to kind of throw it out there, is this thing sustainable? Because here's what I see that's happening. It's very, very hard for people to find that truth when they're looking at TikTok and they're looking at stuff like that. Like, they're being bombarded with all these views. How do you discern between what's factual and what's not, right? So I want to read a couple things for you about the signs that will challenge this, right? So this continued decline of major denominations, the growing number of non-affiliated religions that are out there. Many churches remain in long-term decline. Many churches are closing their doors every single year. I saw a very, very alarming statistic that just in recent times here, we've had over 15,000 church closures compared to 6,000 churches that are like opening. So like, we have a negative church growth in the nation, right? And then we just have this such huge, extremely powerful political polarization happening in our nation, where, like, depending on which side you are on, you might view religion very, very different because of your political stamp, or maybe you're filled with other ideological ideas. So how big or how real do you think, and how sustainable do you think this revival is going to be amongst our youth?
Right now, I think it's pretty sustainable. They are driven. This generation is driven. I tease them a lot. They make up their own language. I'm like, you got to tell me stuff that's interesting about you that's not your own language. We all know that. If they're driven enough to create their own language, they're going to be driven to continue this. The teens that I'm extremely close with, they're already talking about, like, when I have a family.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to bring them to church. My church just created a third service because we have so many teens coming, and we're
Oh,
kind of
hallelujah.
catering a little bit to Gen Z for that third service. So my church has exploded with Gen Z.
How much do you think this is because millennials are like the exact opposite of that, right? It seems like millennials were like the complete rebel
I think it's because
generation.
of that.
You
That
think it is
they-
because of
They grew up watching the millennials, their parents, or us as parents, or them, millennials as parents. They're watching them and seeing them have no hope. They have, fractured families. The family unit isn't together. They have, step parents and step families and this and that. And they want to see it come back together.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. Well, I really hope that it does. I hope it is sustainable. Obviously, I think it's the future. Our future of our nation depends on it, right? Because I will tell you, the millennial generation, I lost hope personally on that particular generation. I was just like, you guys are just way off. Like they seem to be more anti-American, anti-church, anti-everything.
Everything.
They're like pretty much an anarchist generation, and it's nice to see. And it's refreshing to see that there's that God's taken the hold of a lot of young hearts to say, listen, do you want that or do you want truth?
There's something strange going on with Gen Z. But I'm willing to bet it's the opposite of what you're thinking right now. We've all seen the headlines about Gen Z, technology-induced depression, anxiety, burnout, we're checked out. We don't want to work. We've heard all of that. But what if something deeper is going on? Something different than what you've heard? From what I can tell, revival is brewing among Gen Z. Like the revival you hear about in the history books, Christian revival.
I would just say there's been a mass herd of people who are making the public declaration to yield their life to Christ.
If you look for it, you see signs of it everywhere. Articles are reporting record numbers of young people going back to church. Is Gen Z about to experience a global faith revival? And if so, why is this happening? What does this mean for the world? And what does this mean for you?
I'm broken down inside, and there's nowhere else to hide. I need a place where I feel known. Can someone help me? Then I hear you reply, bringing teardrops to my eyes, saying I'm not alone. Oh Lord, I need you now more than ever. Would you put my heart back together? I searched the world till my head hurt just to find out your ways better. Oh, oh, your ways better. Oh, oh, your ways better. Oh, Lord, your ways better. Jesus, your ways better. Lord, I am so thankful for the ways that you bless me. Everything you say making waves like a jet ski.
The church is about to shake like never before. The millennials are more tired than ever before. Gen Z is not having it. The next generation, they want something pure. They want something real. They want something authentic. They're not going to church for lights. They're not going to church for music. They're going to church for the word. And everything is changing. Mark my words. Get on the right side of eternity.
Would you put my heart back together? I searched the world till my head hurt just to find out your ways better. Oh, oh.
All right, everybody. Well, that is our show for today. I will tell you, Kathy, it's been a great conversation. I appreciate your views on everything about this revival going on with Gen Z, and let's hope it's sustainable because it's just a beautiful thing. And I will tell you, because I will tell you, this generation, And I will tell you, all the current generations that are alive, we need more morality in our life, because morality, it definitely does matter.
Yes.
So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, Michael.